What's up, bomb ass moms? Welcome to the Bomb Ass Moms podcast. I'm your girl, Erica.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Tierney, and we're the Bomb Ass Moms.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you all have been enjoying listening to our podcast because we enjoy when y'all like, subscribe, all that good old stuff. Speaking of liking and subscribing, make sure you follow us on IG, Facebook, and you can email us at bombassmomspodcast@gmail.com. So, everybody out there, share with your friends, share with your family.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about generational parenting. We're going to discuss the differences between how our parents parented us and how we parent our children. I'm sure there's so many differences. For me to start off, I'll just say, like, I was raised by my grandma, so it's a little different. And you know how they say grandparents spoil their grandchildren. So that's what I got.
Pretty much what you're saying is you were spoiled and me and Erica got our ass beat. That's what you're saying?
Pretty much, because
sound like an ass. Sound like you. Because she kind of sound like she was a golden child.
Right.
I think, no, for real, I think I was. My brother got a few whoopings now, but I didn't because I wasn't bad. I didn't do anything bad.
Wait, okay, so listen, y'all. We got right to the point talking about whoopings. Okay, for those out there listening, we're not saying that spankings was the be all know all, but we did get tore up. So Tierney, on the other hand, she was just a golden child, y'all. And I'm just kidding, Tierney. We love you. We love you.
Well,
But
I'm just saying that was the thing back in the day. Now, I think that parents have looked into other ways to discipline their children, and that's just one part of discipline. We could talk about other things about parenting too, because
oh
I
yeah, we
know
gonna get
that,
into it.
yeah, I know that now, like the way I feed my child is a little different. But then I'll call one of my grandmas and I'll be like, Grandma, Tristan, I think he needs to gain a little weight. Can you give me some tips? And all the tips she gave me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not giving him all this sugar. I really appreciate it. Thank you, but we're gonna find another way.
It is very different. Like when we really think about it, whether you were raised by your grandparents, whether you were raised by your, biological parent, not biological parent, it's very different. And I think out there are so many stories that could be told. But when it comes to us, when we really think about it, boy, my grandma actually lived with me for a little bit. And you're right, here. My grandma wasn't as bad as my mom, but hey, she did still spank us. But how she would get us ready for school, feed us is very different than what my mom did and how I raised Andrew. But I think that over time things change through generations.
I have a question, y'all. So, do y'all feel that the parenting back then was better than it is now? And what I mean by that is like how the children are being brought up in this
That's a
time.
wonderful
You know,
question, Erica. That's a wonderful question, because when we look at these damn kids these days, like, I don't know about like this smaller generation, like our kids, we don't know how they're going to turn out. But just look at the
Mhm.
generation after us. I think, what's after the millennials? Because we're millennials.
I think Gen Z or something like that. I don't know.
Those kids right there, they're a little different.
A little, not a little, a lot, a
I was
lot.
trying to be nice. I was trying to
No.
be nice, okay?
All right then. And what do we mean by kids there was after us? Pretty much kids that are not in their 30s. Woo.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much the upcoming youth. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say probably maybe 25 and younger. That's maybe what I'm gonna say.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm gonna hear that stopping point. But you know what? I'm gonna say this: my parenting style is very different, but I mean, I put my own twist to things, and I do take how my grandparents and my mom raised me into how I raise my children now. I don't feel that you should allow your kids. You do got to put your foot down and let them know who the head in charge. Who the head in charge? Because I know I had to put my foot down with, my oldest, which it was a challenge. And Actually, I got challenged the beginning of this week with him and just being a typical teenager. I mean, we've all been teenagers before. I've tried my parent before. I know I've tried my mom before. I'm sure Ashley, you tried your mom and your dad or whoever the guardian was
Girl,
in you guys'
don't
life.
mention the dad, but yes, I've tried my mom.
But I mean, for me, like I said, I try to put a twist on it. I mean, I'm not so much of just whooping, but I do believe in sometimes you do have to, spare the rod.
Yeah, I mean, spanking isn't always the answer. I agree with you, Erica. My mom, I'm not gonna say she beat the shit out of me. I'm not saying that, but hey, when it was time to get a whooping, oh my god, I was crying before she even get. So what I'm saying is, I have, taken some things that my mom used to raise us and kind of instilled it in how I raise Andrew. But then there are some things that we definitely don't agree on when it comes to parenting that I do a little bit differently with my child. And to me, that's expected. I'm not going to do everything exactly like how my mom raised me. But then you look back over your life and say, hey, do I want to do this with my kid? Do I not want to do this? What can I take away? I mean, I look at that, but it definitely was different. When I was coming up, we didn't have like all these social media platforms or
Hmm.
freaking cell phones. Heck, I couldn't get a cell phone until I was 17 and had to tell my mama, like, not tell, I'm sorry, like prove to her that I really needed one, a job. Like, I had to get a job at a certain age. So it's very different how, like, my mom was very strict on me, especially because I was the only girl. And so it was just different. And I'm like, okay, how is it going to be now that I have a son? And then I find myself telling my mom how she should have done things as a parent. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about my brothers anymore because I have a son now and I will see one day how it is. But again,
Absolutely.
I look back over my life and say, this is not how I would prefer to raise Andrew, but I do take some things from my mom as far as the sternness go, or she say, hey, pray about it. But certain things I did not take. And again, we as parents in this new generation will figure out how it best worked for us. But again, we never forget where we come from, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You
Yep.
know what? That's a good point that you said back then. I'm not gonna say we didn't have social media because we did. Well, and when I was coming up, we had MySpace, but
Yeah, we
you gotta
had
think about my
MySpace.
But
yeah.
MySpace ain't the same like how
Yes, it's
all
just I
this
was just
stuff is
gonna
going
say.
about. On MySpace, we was really trying to find a boo thing. Okay.
Girl, what? You
Like,
remember? Yeah, do y'all remember? You can design your page, put your own
Put the
music
oh
on.
yeah,
music to
and
your
then look, and
page.
then we had dial-up internet. Oh, we did have a chat line. We did have a chat line.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna say coming up in our times, that's when social media was fun. Now, when you look at social media for these upcoming teens and young adults, it's just a bunch of I'm not gonna
hate
say all of it's
and
negative, but
drama.
yeah, it's drama and it's negative. It's just not like I want to flirt with so and so, or I'm trying to, put my friends in the top five. It was fun
I
back
remember
then.
that.
Girl, you had the top five. Girl, I never forget. I had my little friends, my little top five, my little cute. You know what? And I still kind of go back on that page sometimes.
Wait
Even
a
though
minute.
it's
MySpace
slow.
still
You can
exists?
still get in.
Girl, yeah, yeah.
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 Oh, I'm gonna have to go check that out. You see how behind times I am. My
That's
gosh.
all Facebook, TikTok,
Y'all,
Snapchat,
y'all,
Instagram.
this is so random. I don't mean to change the subject, but I have to say this. This is what I mean by, things are different when it comes to like generations. So you know how like when our parents raised us or when we talk, we'll put up to our ear our hand like, a phone, like a phone dialing. We'll
Yeah,
put that
kind
up
of
to
like the
your ear.
South Side sign.
Yeah, like the South Side sign, baby. I did
Mhm.
that with Andrew and said, Andrew, take your hand and put it up to your ear like you holding the phone. Y'all, guess how he did
He
it?
put the
Please
whole
guess.
hand.
He
He put
put
the
his
whole
whole
hand.
flat hand, talk about
Mhm.
hello. I said these kids would never know what it's like to pick up an actual landline phone.
Show don't,
So
girl.
I'm pretty sure, generations before me, like my mom generation will probably be like, we would never know what it's like to do a dial up. What That's a dial up. What is it called? What's that
The
phone called?
rotary phone.
Yes, the rotary phone. Look at me having a
Well,
brain freeze.
actually, when I was younger, probably like 3 or 4, I know my cousins had one, we had one, and then we switched to the one you had to press the buttons. Then we finally got a cordless phone,
Yes, they're
so.
moving on up. But what I'm saying, I knew what it was. I just, I'm saying it, if I had my mom on the line and she's talking about different generational, parenting styles or things that they had or did, she would probably mention that phone.
But you know what? Speaking of phones, these kids are very blessed these days because, again, back in our time, we had those landlines, and I was raised. Well, we lived with my grandma when I was younger, and me trying to be on the phone when I was in middle school. See, we had two lines. My grandma had her line, and then my auntie had her line. So I was always on the phone on my auntie line. But when you don't supposed to be on the phone, my auntie be like, "Hang that phone up."
Ooh,
Girl, oh
embarrassing
my
us. Embarrassing
gosh.
us.
Embarrass you, like, get your butt off this phone right now. You on the phone with your boo, girl. Dude, talking about embarrassing moments. That's why I say, baby,
So
these kids don't know what
Erica,
it
what
is.
time did you have to get off the phone?
Girl, I think I could. I think the latest I could stay on the phone was 9.
Ooh, that's late. That's late. Baby, your mama
I
and
had
grandma
to
was
get
right.
off. Yeah, I had to get
It
off
was
about
9.
9 or 10 o'clock. I think
Mhm.
10 o'clock, like early high school, like ninth grade. But like middle school, you better get off that phone at 9 o'clock. Like my aunt would answer the
Mhm.
phone because she lived with us. She'll get on the phone and be like, Tierney, it's time for you to go to bed. Right in front of my little boo thing, and I remember because I was in the eighth grade, and yeah, I was dating this boy that was in the seventh grade. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. But my aunt would get
Girl,
on the phone. It's 9 o'clock here, and you need to tell your little friend good night. And they didn't care about embarrassing you. Forget your
girl, they sure
feelings.
did.
No, they
Look,
didn't care about
forget
that.
your feelings. Forget your feelings. Forget your friend hearing you get cursed out. Not really cursed out, but talk bad to. I told you get off this phone. It's 9 o'clock. Don't let me pick it back up. And I'm like, oh my
Listen,
gosh.
listen. That's a good segue. You mentioned something, Tina. You said they didn't care about embarrassing us and show you right.
Mhm.
But nowadays, my son, this boy, talk about, please don't come to school and embarrass me. Oh, did you think about that? Then I got that bad conduct.
Mhm. Look,
Boy,
but you know what? You see how that reverses like with kids, they asking, baby, we couldn't ask. They was
no,
gonna do.
Mm-mm.
They
baby. Let me have brought home a bad grade or let me have got in trouble at school. Oh, it was on and popping. Spanking when I got
baby.
home, on punishment. You ain't on the phone. You better get right in school. Look, all our parents had to do really was give us that look. Nowadays, these new kids, to include my own, want to know why or how come or whatever. I'm like, what is up with this world today?
I was just gonna ask a question to just make
Mhm,
us think. Is
mhm.
it important for us to allow our children to question us? Because I know when I was younger, I was scared to question my grandma, even though she was not mean and she was open to all conversations. It just seemed like something that was disrespectful. So, is it important for our children to be able to speak to us freely, but in a respectful manner, and to be able to ask us, "But why, mom?"
Well, I'm not gonna say. I mean, I feel like the why I would say no to, but I also feel that my children are definitely open. We can definitely talk about anything, but I guess it's just to a certain degree. And when you say why, I guess depending on what you're questioning me, what are you
Yeah.
questioning me? Like discipline, then that's a no brainer. Like,
Yeah.
no, we ain't gonna, don't question me on it.
I think the why though it's more so like a trigger word, that like, are you questioning me why? But however, I would say even though sometimes my son asks me why and I get upset sometimes, I probably, will shut it down to be like either because I said so or like my son is very inquisitive. He wants to know. He wants to know like it's
Right.
so much technology too or so many things that he see even out in the world that he's going to want to know why. So I think that with our children questioning us or asking or want to know, I think it's important for us as parents to explain that so they don't find out secondhand or hear it from somebody else, and they can learn it from us as parents. Because you're right, Tierney. Like in the past, I think my mom found it, disrespectful, or our grandparents found it disrespectful to even ask, because it's like, I'm the adult and you say, but then it leaves us still wondering or going out trying to find the answer that we didn't get at home. And I don't want my child to ever feel like they can't get what they need at home, but I do think that it's a certain way that they can ask. But my son is very inquisitive, and he's going to ask, and if he asks, sometimes I'm not even prepared to answer it. But you got to get your mind right, because again, you don't want him going out into the environment where you can't control something and searching for the answer.
Well, I think if you put yourself, again, it depends on the situation. But for me, I always explain, especially if it's a discipline situation, I'm going to explain to you why I'm doing this so that you will know.
Okay. And so before Erica explains to us her reasoning, let's go ahead and take a quick little break. We'll be back to hear what she got to say.
Okay, so yeah, when it comes down to the whys, I feel like for me, I always explain the reason why I am or why you're in, the situation you're in. That way it won't be a question. That's what I'm gonna say.
But Erica, you said you always explain, but sometimes certain things happen or certain conversations happen before you can explain the why, right? So you may have your child come questioning something, I don't know what, and then you might have a conversation about it. Sometimes you don't know what your child is going to ask, if they've seen something or they just want to know something.
Well, I guess it's true.
I can't sit here and say everything that comes out of Andrew's mouth I've already prepped for it and I can sit and have a conversation. No, some stuff is very unexpected. And I think that a better way to say certain things is when my child asks me why, maybe not ask me why, maybe say, how come it's like, or maybe like try to change the vocabulary. Because I'm not going to lie, why is a triggering word for me, but at the end of the day, he's asking for a reason. He wants to know something. And so I don't want to shelter him like how my mom or grandma said, because I just said so. No, it's I want to know so. But
you wanna know why you gonna get your ass tapped.
Right. Why? No, you kind of already knew. I knew when this was in trouble. I knew, I knew I had done something wrong. But what I'm saying is, like, who dares ask our parents, like, why?
Yeah.
It was just understood that because I said so. You know what I'm saying? Like that was what I grew up knowing. Like you don't ask your parents why. Certain vocab or certain words you don't say. Like you don't say lie. If you want to say something, you say telling the story. Like my mom heard Andrew say, well, you let him say lie? Well, yeah, I know you didn't let us say it, but it's okay. He uses it in the right context. She'll be like, oh, that went fly.
That's a triggering word, though. That is a very triggering word because now I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I want my child to say lie. If you want to say something isn't true, just say something isn't true. Because you're not going to tell me I'm a lie. That's the problem.
No, it's not that they're saying you a lie, but they might say that it's a lie. I think that it's in the context. Like if they calling me a lie, I'm like, reword what you're saying, buddy. But I think that it's all about context too. Just like the whole why thing, it's in certain contexts or whatever. But certain things I said that I wouldn't do as a parent or that my mom did. Some stuff I do, but some stuff I just like, no, I can't get jiggy with it. No.
Yeah,
okay, so tell me, Ashley, what are those things that are, if you're thinking about your upbringing, what are those things that are no? Like, I'm not passing this down to my child. I would never treat my child like this. I would never talk to my child like this. What are those things?
You put me on the spot with that one. I gotta like really think.
Okay, well, Erica, can you answer that? I can answer it, but
I will say this one thing: when I have given my child a spanking, I have told him the reason, or like if I'm spanking him, he knows why or what he did, and to understand that he should not do it again. Versus how my mom, she spanked us because we did something, and I feel like she didn't make sure we were okay after the spanking. It was just like, get your ass in there and sit down. I don't want to see you again right now, versus if I spank my child, I will come check on his well-being after the fact. Like, that's one thing that, I mean, granted, I took the spanking, like my mom spanked us. Yes, I've spanked my child, right? Again, I'm not saying that that's the end all be all. I'm not saying on this podcast for our listeners out there that, hey, you must spank your child. That's something you should take away. No, it's just, I do believe in spankings, but not saying that that's the end all be all. Another thing, my mom didn't necessarily let me go out like I wanted to. And I don't know if it was because I was a girl. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm never going to shelter my son from wanting to do things and hang with friends or, things like that. Oh, going to bed at a certain time. Yes, my son has a bedtime, but I'm not going to be like, oh, picking up the phone saying, get off with your little friend, blah, blah, blah. Like, certain things I'm just not going to do. And my son doesn't have a cell phone at this moment. Oh, I'm not going to wait till my son turns 17 to get a cell phone. Certain things I'm just not going to do that.
I think the one thing that I am big on is like when I was growing up, like my mom, I'm not gonna say that she wasn't like big on you making decent grades, but if I bought home a D or a F, it wasn't like a big ordeal.
Wait, not a
You
D
know?
or F. Erica, you bringing home D's?
Yeah,
What were
yeah,
you doing?
yeah.
Just going to school
I'll
being
go
pretty?
home a time or two. Yeah, yeah.
No,
Just,
no, ma'am.
speaking. Yes, ma'am. A time or two, I've bought home a D or a F. I mean, but like now,
Ooh, my
I
ass would have been grass. My ass would have been grass.
but you know what the crazy part about with my oldest, I'm not like that. Like grades are definitely important. Education is very big, in our households. Him bringing home a D or F is like go time. Like I got to get in your.
That's your
That's right.
ass.
You
That's
got to get
what
in your
I'm
shit.
saying.
And speaking of that, and the reason that I say this is because I had to get on him, and I was referring to that earlier, is because I had to get on to him earlier part of this week. I just so happened to get an email from his teacher just saying, hey, if you're receiving this email, your child is failing the class or whatever. So cool beans. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna have a conversation, with him to see, exactly what's going on, how we can fix it or whatever the case may be. But, me being the parent I am, I'm working, and then I just so happen to send the teacher a message back and was like, hey, I do appreciate you for sending me the email. I'll make sure that I ensure to talk to my son. Boom, he comes back to say, speaking of your son, he was having trouble. He likes to draw in the classroom a lot of times. And then the key thing that triggered me with the teacher that really just got me upset with my son was that the teacher doesn't give them homework. He really doesn't send home homework. So if you don't have a lot of homework, then why we can't get the classwork done? So, me, of course, I'm infuriated at that point, because, you drawn, and then, the teacher was like, make a long story short, they was doing a test and he just wasn't focused on the test. He was drawing. So, of course, when he got home, I went on about the day, just kind of, asked him how his day was. And he told me that, they didn't do too much. It was just a chill day. So then, me being me, I'm just like, okay, let's come on in here. Let me talk to you. Let him read the email that the teacher sent, and then it kind of went from there. But that was a challenging moment in my parenting because for me, because I let him speak and I let him tell me exactly what's going on. He gave me an answer that I just didn't like. And, from there, I'm just I'm still trying to be in calm mode. I'm like, okay, come on, let's go in the room. Let's get your gadgets. You got to hand me over your gadgets. And I think, what, matter of fact, talking about the why moment, that was a why moment with my child. And he knew why I was taking his gadgets, but it was him not wanting to, like I asked him for the cell phone, and it was, I was like, okay, unlock the phone. He didn't want to unlock the phone. Like it just went like back and forth, back and forth,
I
back and
think
forth for a minute.
I think kids gonna be rebellious too when you start taking away stuff. Well, at least my son for sure. This new generation,
Yeah.
when you start taking away things that they truly like and truly want, man, ain't no way in the world.
Okay, let me ask you something, Erica, before you finish. So, if in this situation, right,
Mm-hmm.
if you were in this situation and it was your mom that was parenting, after you finish your story, I want you to answer like, how different would this scenario be?
Now, Tiffany,
Um,
you be asking the questions to have a bitch have to think.
Man,
Like,
you have
what?
to think. Well, I'm gonna say this. I think with the difference between my son's situation and my situation with my situation with my mom, I think my mom would have been on the side of just saying, "You need to do your work. Don't be in that class drawing this, that, and the third." It just would have been like just a normal talk. And I felt like that's what I did, but I did it with also taking something that he loved. And it's not like this is like the first time. So I felt like if I've been getting reports, I give a little, because my son is older. He's in high school. And, again, I was a teenager, so I do understand. But I'm not going to keep on giving, if that makes sense. Because I feel like at a certain point in time, as a parent, you got to put your foot down. And through all of that, after I got onto my son and he finally unlocked the phone, but it was a crying moment for me because I felt like, I told him, I said, I feel like they was just being disrespectful. It's embarrassing. And, even though we're at home, but don't ever do that again. I feel like we might go out in public and I ask you to do something and you challenging me. Don't ever do that again. You know what I'm saying? So it took Marcus and my brother came out. They both spoke to him because I feel like men being in children's life, especially boys, young boys, they need that. You know what I'm saying? Some things women just can't do.
Amen.
You can only raise your son to be a man to a certain degree. They got to have some type of male figure also to put their foot down. And I said some things and I realized that I said a lot of things out of anger because one thing about me, I'm a curse, but it's a certain level of cursing that I use with my child. Ass and that normal ass or something like that, but other words, other languages that we might use with other people, I don't use that with my child, and I had to use that with him. But I also went back after I calmed down. I was able to self reflect when I did talk to him. I had to apologize on my end because saying it for me, just cussing out of the norm. I feel like you can cuss as a parent, but certain words you shouldn't use with your kids. And, you always got to reassure your kids at all times that a lot of things that you do when you're being a disciplinary parent, you're doing it out of love. And you know, it was a teachable moment for I think both of us.
I'm
I'm gonna say
I'm
that.
glad you said that. Erica, Tyranny, listeners out there, just pray for me. That's why I'm in therapy now because you're right. Certain words you don't want to say to your child because they pick up on it. But sometimes when
Mhm.
you're angry and not thinking in the moment, you
Mhm.
say things and sometimes you have to go back and apologize and say, Mommy didn't mean that, or things like that. But you're right. So listeners
Mhm.
out there, ladies, my sisters, pray for me because I've said some things that weren't so nice.
Yeah, and
So
it's okay. And as long as I feel like as long as you can definitely know, your part, you're wrong in it. I feel like
You're
it was
aware.
big of me because you're aware that it's wrong and you shouldn't do it. And us being moms, we gonna be challenged, and I'm learning that each and every day, when your parents tell you, okay, you gonna have your own kids one day. I mean, my auntie and them, they used to say it all the time, you gonna have your own kids one day, and now that I do have my own children, that I do understand.
y'all
Yeah.
remember us saying like, "Oh, I can't wait till I turn 18 to get up out of here." I used to say it. And or parents tell you something and or like my mom would tell me something and she was like, "I'm only telling you this for your own good because I done been there, done that."
Yeah.
Child.
Hmm.
I have two things. So I want to say to both of y'all because I'm not in that stage. My child is about to be 18 months. So I'm not in that stage. One thing I do want to say and give you all applause about is apologizing to your children. I think when I was growing up, I only heard one apology from my grandma. And not saying that she did things to me that deserved an apology because, again, I didn't really get in trouble. My grandma really never said like really mean or bad things to me. I think the worst thing she told me was like, "Oh, you should have stayed your ass at home. You always rushing me in the store." Because when moms and stuff go in the store, they want to stay in there for hours. And I was a grandma's baby. I always used to be like, "Hey, I want to go, I want to go." But then after so long, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm ready to go home, Ma." Mom, when are we leaving? And she like, oh, you getting on my damn nerves. You should have stayed at home. For me, I used to be like, ooh, that hurt my feelings. How you gonna say I get on your nerves and I should have stayed at home? I just wanted to spend time with you. I just didn't think it was gonna be that long. So I think that now we as parents, we're more aware of like how we make our children feel by the things that we do, even when we're mad. So we're more
That's
conscious
true.
of our own
Hmm.
emotions,
Yeah,
because
I do agree with you,
sometimes,
Tierney.
it's just human for when you're mad to say something crazy or to say something out of order and you're like, oh my God, I just told my child, like, not saying you're going to say this, but like, oh, I just told my child to fuck off. Like, oh my God, how could you really say that to your kid? Right? And so
Yeah.
you have to go back and apologize and be like, hey, I didn't really mean that, that's not how I want to speak to you. And I
Hmm.
think that is
Yeah.
very important because psychologically, like, do you want your children to develop those feelings because of something you said? Like, do you want them to be
No.
sad because you said, oh, you get on my damn nerves? Because
Mm.
that's
Hmm.
sending a message like, I don't want you around me. Or they could think something worse. You know what I'm saying? And I tell my aunt all the time, so she has a 17-year-old daughter. My aunt is like 54, 55, so she's in a different generation than us too. But the way that she speaks to her daughter, the way that she just tells her, like, you get on my damn nerves, or just anything, if she makes her mad, like, it's a lash out. And I don't like it because I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't even talk to my man like that. You think I'm gonna talk to my child like that?
Yeah.
And so I
Tierney,
think uh huh.
go ahead. Keep
Go
going.
ahead.
Oh, so I was saying, so I think that like we have to be more conscious on what we're creating psychologically with our children because if we talk to our children that way, they'll think, oh, it's okay for other people to talk to us that way and treat us that way. And I don't believe that.
Tierney. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. You made a good point, and you asked the question earlier, and I want to know from y'all. I want to hear from you and Erica. You said, what are some things that your mom did or your parent did that you to your child, or things that you do or do not do with your child? And one thing that I forgot to mention, and I want to hear from y'all, is that I didn't get much affection growing up. I didn't get the I love yous growing up, but I make sure, and my child is very affectionate, but I make sure he knows that I love him. He know, like, I don't like him touching me all the time, but I don't want to like turn him away because he's very affectionate. So that's something that we work on when it comes to our relationship and how I'm raising my child, because he's affectionate and he's a words of affirmation kid. He likes to hear the positive stuff. He likes to hear the good jobs. And I didn't get that as a child. So like, what are some things that you did or did not get that you do with your children? And I know, Tierney, you say you have a Tristan is not like 9 or a teenager, but still he's there.
So Ashley, it's funny that you say that. So you're saying like your son is a certain way, right? I will tell
Yeah.
you, I got the affection, I got the I love yous, I got the hugs, I got the kisses, and that has translated in my adult life to wanting those things. And it's hard when you don't get those things because that's what you're used to growing up.
Yeah.
So for me, with my child, even though he's just 18 months, even when I tell him, I'm like, give me a kiss. Sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. And sometimes he'll give me a kiss by himself, and that makes me so happy. But I always hug him. I always tell him I love him. I'm always kissing on him. He's a boy, but I want him to know what love looks like and what it sounds like because I don't think
And feel like.
and feel like yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times when people look at men when they grow up, boys, men, they think, oh, you're supposed to be hard. I mean, to a certain extent, but I still want you to know what that feel like because I don't want you to get out in this world and just be this tough guy and not know how to show your feelings. That is very important. So that's one thing. I can say like one thing. My grandma always made sure she said, "I love you," and I think our family is just very affectionate. Like my immediate family, we're very affectionate. We always hug and kiss on each other, and I always tell each other that we love them, like always. And my grandma instilled in us young, like always say, "I love you," because you don't know the last time you'll see somebody, and so we
Mm-hmm.
always did that. Just like
That's
some
good.
other things, yeah, some other things that my grandma did. I know she always made sure that we ate breakfast before we left for school. That that we had hot meals. Some parents they don't believe in it. Like, baby, get you an apple and come on, we gotta go.
You said I don't know what to
I,
say to it.
Hey, that's funny that you said that because I think that it depends on the job too. Because sometimes Andrew get a hot meal, sometimes we eat on the go, but I never got
yeah.
that. So that's good that y'all always got hot meals. It's amazing to hear like you say that in your story, and Eric, I can't wait to hear because it's very different for me. My mom worked all the time, so it was not like that. So that's amazing.
Well, I think I'm in the same boat as you, Ashley, because like my side, my immediate family, no, they're not affectionate at all. And I know my mom, she loves her children, she loves me, she loves my brother, but it wasn't like I got that all the time that I love you and the kisses and the hugs. And even now, in my adult life, at times we'll say it, but it's not like a normal thing that we just always say. We will hug each other and stuff like that. But me and my mama, we are close. But the affectionate is just that part isn't there, because we just didn't grow up. I didn't grow up with that. With my children, yeah, they get that all the time. I don't care if they just going to the mailbox and back in the house, it's I love you when I talk to you, man, even when he leave the house, every time we hang up the phone, I love you. So it's a constant thing. I hug on my babies and I love them. That's one thing that I didn't get that I do with my children now. I have to
Erica, did
teach
you
them.
feel like you were missing out on something because you already knew you had a relationship with your mom where you felt that she loved you, so you didn't really need that?
Well, I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything because, again, I was close to my mom, so it wasn't like a thing where I felt like I was missing love.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But I think that's the important thing. You didn't feel like you were missing love. You knew that
yeah,
love was there. You know what I'm
there.
saying?
Yeah, I knew love was there. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it can affect people and their day to day lives as adults. This just doesn't affect me.
Mhm.
What you experienced in your childhood and your upbringing, you do make it into your own when you have your own children. And
Yeah.
you take a little bit of what your upbringing was and you turn it into your own. That's all.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's true. You never forget where you come from. Like I said before, you just never forget. And Tierney, I think that going back, I think it's so amazing that you got the I love yous and you tell Tristan I love you, you hug, give me a kiss. That's amazing. Like he gonna remember that. Like he will remember that. Like just like you remembered it, growing up.
Yeah, I hope so because I know that I look at how our men, black men, are portrayed to other people as being like dangerous and scary. I want my son to know, baby, you're not dangerous or scary just because you're black. I want to give you and show you all the love in the world. And there was one thing, I know I said it on another episode, like, oh, I cried when I found out I was having a boy because black boys go through different challenges. It's not like I'm raising a girl. Girls have it a lot easier. We have our challenges too, but just being black. But black boys, they have 10 times the challenges in any other race.
Yes, I
Mm,
agree.
I
And
agree
I
with
will
you.
say my son is biracial. I had to put it out there, but the world, the environment, society will see him as a black boy. And you're right, it's very important to have role models and men out there. Erica mentioned earlier, it's only so much we can do as mothers. I can't teach Andrew how to be a man. And, I'm not discrediting his dad or anything like that. He would have to show him the manly ways, but he can never explain to him the eyes of a black man because his eyes aren't black and he doesn't know that feeling. So My son will fall up right in the category with black little boys or black men, because that's how the world and society will view him. And it's important that we instill the right things and, have those role models. But Tierney, you definitely hit that nail on the head.
All right, y'all. We've been talking for a little while. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with some more content. We got a lot of shit to say about this generational parenting and how we're different from our parents or how we're alike. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for
Welcome
coming back.
back.
Okay, so we're gonna almost finish up our conversation here. We got a little bit more time. I did have a question for our ladies here today. Is there anything in your childhood that you feel that you have done a little bit different with parenting your child?
Tierney, I'm glad you asked that question because, I had time to really think. And to be honest, there is some things that I have done differently besides the stuff that we kind of named at the beginning of the episode. But I just recall from my childhood, my mom working a lot, sometimes 2 to 3 jobs at a time. And she had a choice to make, to either work a lot and take care of her kids or not, and then we'd be homeless somewhere, right? So my mom deliberately worked, and my mom was bummed because that's the choice that she made. But here in today's society, or how I'm living now, I work. Yes, I have 2 jobs, but I try to be deliberate about certain things, as far as taking my son places or having him see things that I didn't get to see as a child. Like, my son's been to many countries. My son has a passport. I didn't have a passport as a child. Tierney, I think my passport I got actually in college. We took our, first trip in college. But,
Yeah, we
you know,
got it together.
yeah. So certain things I just tried to, I had never been to camp. I wanted to make sure my son went to a camp, and he went to camp for 7 days without me. So it's just little things that did not happen in my childhood. I don't want my child to miss out on, even though I work a lot as well. So it's like you have to be deliberate about doing certain things. And I'm not sure if my mom didn't think twice about wanting to be deliberate. Back in the daytimes, me growing up is not the same as now, because not that I wasn't inquisitive and wanting to know things, but my focus was, hey, you got to do well in school. Mommy has to work. Whereas, it's the same thing with my child though. Like, I want Andrew to do well in school. I work, but I still make time so he can do these extracurricular activities and just be involved and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, back to my childhood and maybe why it was kind of successful, some of the issues I didn't have is because I was raised by my grandma. So she had already raised 5 children, not the entire childhood by themselves, but most of their childhood by themselves. So she was already one of those parents, like, been there, done that. I'm already good at this, right? So when it came to raising us, it was like, well, I already know what to do. So maybe I'm just thinking, like, maybe that's why I didn't like miss out on certain things. Now, my grandma did have, like, I could remember her being like gone working 2 to 3 jobs all the time. I can remember that, but when they say it takes a village, we had family members that would be like, hey, let's go to the Children's Museum, let's do this, let's do that. And I think that makes a difference in like your parents. Sometimes you do need help.
Absolutely.
And then, like, my grandma, she made sure that we did certain things together. Like you said, Ashley, you didn't go to summer camp or you didn't go to a camp. Now, I didn't go away to camp like for 7 days. I don't think I really wanted to do that anyway because I don't want to be away from my grandma that long. But like we went to
Yeah.
summer camps like almost every summer. We participated in certain things like that. And looking back, I'm like, did we do that just so that like we would have somewhere to go and have activities to do while she was at work? Is that a privilege? Sit back and you think about these things, because like actually you just brought it up to me. Like I don't know, would I have rather done that in the summertime than something else? I'm happy that we did because those were memories of summer camp, but I don't know what I rather would have done in summer, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even recall. I think I was just outside playing, to be honest, but there was like no extra like curricular activities or sports that I was involved in that I could remember. But Erica, before you share, I'm gonna say something that Tierney just mentioned. She said that you had family that kind of helped out, and you said it takes a village, and I think that that's my mindset now, being a single parent, that it definitely takes a village. And I'm not sure if that was the mindset of my mom, because there were times where my grandma did live with us and did help out, but it wasn't like a plethora of family members saying, hey, let me come get Ashley, Nick, and Corey to do X, Y, and Z. No, but that it definitely takes a village. It definitely takes a village. Looking back over my life, I always, that's my favorite line.
Is
You
that
know,
a
look,
gospel song?
Yeah, yeah.
I
When
don't
I
know if it's
look
a gospel
back
song.
over my life, yeah, this is a good song.
That's the one I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking
When
about.
I see
I don't know what you singing, Ashley, but that's what I'm thinking about.
I don't know. I just turned it into a
Jesus.
tune, but y'all know the words. I don't. It might be. That's
You know,
crazy, but I'm
as a
just
matter of fact, the name of it's the testimony song. I got a testimony. Look at me.
Testimony. Yeah, see, yeah. Woo, hallelujah. All right.
yeah, but
I
I'm
was really
crazy.
just gonna piggyback up on what you said, Ashley, as far as like the things that I do with my children. Back in when I was growing up with my mom just always just work, 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 work. So me having children now, no, I don't want to have 2, 3 thousand jobs. I just don't. I feel like, and I'm not gonna say that in my mom's mindset, money, it was just about the money. I felt like their upbringing, that may be what they were just taught, just to work, 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 work. That's why they work 2, 3 jobs. Us, it's different, and we're in a different day and time. But yeah, definitely spending time with my children is important, and sharing the world with them, doing the things that I didn't get to do when I was younger is a big thing that I'm looking forward to with, both of my children, which my oldest, I've traveled with him, but he's been traveling shoes since he 3. So we've took him somewhere like every year. To be honest, I just thank God that I'm in a position. I have a great partner. We doing this thing together.
One important thing that you just said, Erica, is that you have a great
Mm.
partner. And I think that it is very different for women when they're
Mm-hmm.
single and they're doing it
Yeah.
alone, because it's
Preach,
10 times
preach.
harder. It's 10 times harder for them to be able to do things for their children, for themselves, than it is with us having a
Mm-hmm.
partner. And I saw something on TikTok, y'all, and it was this lady. She was saying how somebody posted something. The person that posted something, she was blaming her mom for her childhood, saying that her mom was never there for her because she had to work so much,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what the young lady did, every time her dad came into her life, she praised her dad, because when her dad came, he would always bring toys, he would always do this, he would always do that, but then he would leave, and not once did the person say, like, you know what, my mom is busting her ass, she's doing the best that she can, and here is my dad, he come every few months or every few years and with toys and gifts and shit, but he's not there 100% of the time, and that's why my mom has to work so
Mm-hmm.
hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and as kids, we're not logical thinkers. Like, well, my mom has to work so hard, and that's why she's missing out on things.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be able to do this, or I just want to be able to do that. We kind of fought our parents for that. And maybe they didn't know a better way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that our generation versus theirs, we have learned a lot from their mistakes and a lot of stuff that we have gone through. My parents, my grandma, she didn't go to college. I was blessed to be able to go to college. That's an experience in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we have different life experiences. We have grown. We know more. I think every generation, hopefully, I don't know this generation after us. I can't. Let's just skip over them.
Not skip
Every
over them.
generation.
No, not skip over them.
Well,
But
I'm
we can't
saying
speak on
like
it because we don't really know. We don't know. I mean, the generation after us is very different. We do know that, but we can't like really speak on it or
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, it's just they are the ones that you got to explain everything to, and they got to know. I don't know if the generation after us know what it's like to have to actually work hard because everything probably was handed to them. So that's something that we have to be mindful of that we're with our kids, because you have to teach them responsibilities. Like I don't want to just hand everything and then my
yeah,
child grow up and not know how to freaking wash dishes. Like I'm gonna be
Mhm.
pissed.
Well, Tierney, you did make a good point when you
that's
said,
true.
as far as like some parents, some moms, some of our moms, they did have to raise their children alone. And, me being a parent and us being moms now, just going through different life experience, being at a point where you were a single mom. I've been in that predicament before, even though I have a fantastic partner now. Of course, my first child is not my partner's biological child. So that missing piece of parent, that does play a big part because it does take a village to raise children. And I can honestly say I'm definitely grateful. I understand now that I'm an adult why my mom works so much. And I do my best. I know as her daughter now, I definitely make my mom proud. But any chance that I can when we go on out of town trips and stuff like that, because I can't remember when I was younger, like my mom just experiencing going out of town. I know before, because I wasn't born in Memphis, I was actually born in the ATL, Atlanta. So she used to live there before she moved back to Memphis. But I can't really even just think back of when she was able to take herself out of town. And I do know, just remembering back in my childhood with my mama working and stuff like that, she just wasn't able to really just enjoy her life. And you being young, you don't understand that because you just look at it like, oh, she's just working. But she was working to provide for her family. And, shout out to my mama.
Erica, you make a good point. My mom, I got her passport 4 or 5 years ago, and she's just now able to like really
Mhm.
live because she works a
Yeah.
lot. It's like now, mom, hey, now that you have a child that's able to help you live and
Mhm.
not just exist out here in this
Exactly.
world, she is always there for my special
Mhm.
moments. And two, she's gone on a couple of trips and stuff like that. But I think you said back in the day, and I even said, I mean, they were just working to survive or working to do what they knew
Mhm.
best, and that was to, take care of their
Mhm.
kids. And then I'm gonna actually go back even further. Tierney, you mentioned something about a TikTok video that you've seen where the girl was being appreciative of her dad because her dad would come with gifts and crap, and it's very temporarily. And it kind of made me
Mhm.
think about how, to me, my dad was absent, but we can talk about that in another
Mhm.
episode. But it makes me think about how like some of these parents show up just to be these kids' friends and try to be like the good parent
Mhm.
or like the good cop or whatever, and then disappear. That affects children a lot. Some children may have abandonment
Mhm.
issues or issues with people just showing up and then disappearing or whatever. It may be cool for that time being, but over time, that shit ain't cool.
Mhm.
That is not cool. And yeah, that person on the TikTok video may have missed out on who truly works hard to provide your everyday
Mhm.
living. Sometimes I think about that,
Mhm.
like who's really working hard to provide for
Mhm.
you. I know I was guilty too back in the day that you dismiss the fact that your parent is working hard, and then you listen to other people's parents like your mom or your dad don't know what they're talking know what they're talking about or like they're doing for you or whatever. And I listen to my child too, and it's funny how he don't see the money being made, and I say he meaning my son, but he know money being made, and he think that money just grow on trees, and that's not the case. It's funny how my son automatically assumes that I just have money even though he doesn't see it, because I used to say the same thing. I didn't understand the concept of my mom didn't have the money because she worked a lot, and I was just like, oh, but you can make it happen because you got a job. You could just write a check. Me not understanding the concept that you gotta have the money in the bank so the check won't bounce. Like, I didn't understand. I'm like, you could just write that little check to get what I need, or you can like swipe your credit card. Me not understanding that concept, me just thinking in my mind, you are the parent and you're supposed to provide,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's how I thought. And I look at Andrew and he thinks the same thing. He be like, oh, well, you got money, you work, you could just swipe your card. You could just give me your card and I go swipe Starbucks. Boy,
Well, they
please.
always think that we got money. My child thinks the same thing. Oh, well, you got money. Like he got money too. But I'd be like, you want to purchase our food today? No, you got it. Excuse me.
Yeah, and that's funny. Speaking of money, and that's another thing that was different back in the day to now. Like, I don't recall my mom, and she did her best. I don't recall me learning, hey, this is how you should be responsible with money. This is what you
Mm-hmm.
should do. Maybe you should start an account. But now, like with my child, we have like this little bank. He has this account. You have to be responsible with your money. You can't just go blow it. It's just certain things that I'm just trying to teach him to be smart about his money. I think that if I had that in the past, maybe I mean, I'm doing well, but I mean, I think I would have, did some things differently. Like when I had a job in high school, I wouldn't have just blown my money. I would have been trying to save some money. But I'm just trying to teach that concept to my child now, not necessarily going in depth with it, but just teaching him, hey, you got to be responsible.
Well, we also have to think about how things have changed in today's society. So it's a lot of things that you want your children to be knowledgeable on. And back then, I just don't think like, how the way that we think and the things that we want for our children now, it just wasn't I'm not gonna say it wasn't a thought, but it really wasn't anything big, if I can say.
Wait, what do you mean it wasn't anything big?
So
Like, for
So
clarification
when I
purposes.
say it wasn't anything big, meaning when you say bank accounts and teaching your children, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that teach their children about money, how to save. But I didn't learn it from my mom either. I didn't know how to save until I was an adult, when I was challenged in my finances. And that was just something that I had to learn on my own. But it is something
Mm-hmm.
that I teach my child, my oldest now. Saving is a big thing. I'm not saying that you can't go out here and spend money, but also make sure that you always keep money in your account as well.
Like, big ups to my grandma, because looking back, man, she was a fucking wonderful
Mm-hmm.
person. And not to say fucking and wonderful in the same sentence, but she was. Like, so we just brought up bank accounts. When I was 15, I had a bank account, like a savings and checking. And this is at the age of 15, because I think at 16, I got a job. So I had money of my own to put in there. So at 15, she would put like $50 in my account every week. And then for my savings account, she started me off with like $100. And I just remember this vividly because I remember us going up to the bank. It was a bank like right down the street from our house. And I remember us starting this process. To me, it was like exciting, like, ooh, I get my own money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, backstory, I got this because as a child and teenager, and I'm like this today, like, I have no, like, mental capacity. I would lose money. You would think, like, oh, you got cash money, you gonna keep that? No, I would lose it. It would be gone. I have lost, like, new pair of shoes at the mall. I have lost $200 before as a child. So it was hard for me to keep up with money. So she was like, I'm gonna get you a debit card, and this will be easier for you to use. When I got my job, she just stressed like, you need to save a little bit of money, and then you'll have money to, buy whatever you want or whatever. I'm always be here for you, but you can do it yourself. You gotta be a little bit more independent. You're growing up. So those were some of the lessons that I learned from my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And, Tierney, I have a question for you. You always asking us questions. I got a question for you. So, do you
Yes,
think
ma'am.
that because you were raised by your grandma and she had kids, grown kids, and you were her grandchild, but, that's your mom, do you think that she kind of learned from her children, like learn from certain things that she didn't do with her children to kind of do with you and set you up for success? Just because, again, she had grown children and she may not had the opportunity to start them an account or anything like that, so she took advantage and did it with you.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it does make me think. I think that she probably did look at her children and how they came out in a sense, and look back to see like, okay, what could I have done better, and let me do better with my grandchildren. So I'm pretty sure she did look at those things, but that's just an assumption because she could have given her children the same tools that she gave us. But
That's
we
true.
do
But you
get
know how
better
they,
as we age.
yeah, that's true. But you know how your grandparents, they take extra special care of them grandkids, baby. Ooh, gee.
Don't they?
Ooh.
Well, yeah, and the situation that we were in that she had to take care of us, I'm pretty sure that she wanted to pick up more slack than the usual.
And that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that is great. You mentioned your grandma didn't go to college and you went to college, and look at you. You didn't turn out successful, but your grandma did something right, baby. Look at you. Your grandma did
Oh
something
yeah,
right. I mean, all our
like
parents did something.
listen, I owe it all to my grandma. If I praise anybody, I probably don't say it a lot, and I don't want to get too emotional here because she passed away. But that woman, she did a freaking tremendous job in raising my brother and I. And I wouldn't have wanted it any other way because God knows. Me and Chris, we were talking about this last night. Just think about how your life would have turned out if your mother was raising you or was attempting to raise you and that's all you had. Like my
Yeah.
grandma did a wonderful job and I wouldn't want it any other way.
That's great.
Oh, I'm so glad that we all intertwined and we all knew your grandma, and she did do an awesome job. She definitely did an awesome job. Even Sheila knew her. Just
Sure did.
amazing.
Shout out to Mimo.
Yep.
Shout out to Mimo. May she keep resting.
Yes.
Yes. In peace,
Yes.
okay? All right, y'all. We have had a great discussion. Don't forget to follow us on IG and Facebook at Bombassmomspodcast. You can also DM us. You can email us at bombassmomspodcast@gmail.com. This is a part one. We do have a part two. And in part two, we're going to be talking to some mamas that are from a different generation than us. And we just want to get their perspective on parenting, what they have done different from their parents, and how they think our generation is doing with parenting. Until next time, y'all follow, subscribe, send us some questions, share, and we'll be back next week.
Alrighty, sharing is caring.